Okay, everybody, thank you. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting, Monday, July 15th, 7:30. Just a quick open public meeting statement. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Public Open Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the School District of the Chatham Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place thereof posted in the Board Administrative offices, sent to the clerks of the Chatham Borough, the Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and TAP. Peter, would you mind taking attendance?
Yes.
Here.
Yes. Ms. Chambers, Ms. Ciccarelli, Ms. Clark, Ms. Kenny?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Valenti? Here. And Ms. Weber?
Here.
6 present and accounted for.
Excellent. If you're able, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I think the flag might be down, but...
It's there.
Oh, it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Thank you. I do not have any president's comments, so I'm going to punt it right over to Dr. LaSousa for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Hope everyone's having a nice summer. I wanted to mention that in terms of enrollment, we're in the process right now of rolling over all of our student information, and we're continuing to enroll students. We had a couple register in the past few days. So we're keeping an eye on all of our enrollment and all of our sections and any hot spots that we have. We did have to, in the past month, open up another section of first grade at both Washington and Southern, which we hadn't planned for necessarily a couple of months ago, but we knew it was a possibility. And we have an additional half-day kindergarten section at Southern also, just because of the trickle-in of new students who've enrolled. We are, I think, just about fully staffed right now. Ms. Grant can correct me if I'm wrong. We have some appointments on the agenda and on the addendum tonight for staff, incoming staff members that we've interviewed and secured in the past few days. We do have some maternity leaves and other leave replacement positions that we've yet to fill, but for the most part, we're in pretty good shape at this point as of July 15th. I also wanted to mention this is the first board meeting we've had since the school year ended. High school graduation was a big success. Thank you to all the board members who were present for that and participated in the ceremony. We also had a middle school celebration, and I did want to mention, I discussed this with the PTO earlier in the year, but I thought I'd bring it up now that it's fresh in everyone's minds. This was, I think, the third time we've been unable to coordinate the middle school end-of-year celebration to be held immediately before the high school graduation. Since we've moved to Menon Arena, which was about 9 years ago, we've tried to keep the two of them together to reduce costs, but we were unable to do that this year. So I think it's appropriate to start examining whether we should continue with that type of ceremony for our middle school. We're talking about an 8th grade end-of-year event. It's not a graduation. It's just an end-of-year celebration, and it is costly to run it the way we do when we have to do it here apart from the high school. We have to rent a lot of items. It's upwards of $10,000.
$10,000.
So I'd have to get the exact cost, but between all of the rentals and the setup and everything else, it's fairly expensive. So
Okay.
I've discussed this with the PTO a little bit to think about whether we should re-examine what we're doing. I think we should. And as we enter into the new school year, I plan to have a broader conversation with the administration there and others to determine if what we're doing is most appropriate and giving us the best bang for our buck.
And just out of curiosity, what was the PTO reaction to?
The PTO generally was supportive, but everyone has a different opinion about what's the best way to celebrate an end of year and the culmination of the end of a time a student is in a particular school. I actually have talked with both the high school and middle school principals about what we're doing at the end of the year, how much instructional time we're missing, how many rites of passage we're including, what is really appropriate or what our role should be in holding these kinds of events and celebrations and traditions. We want to celebrate our students, of course, but I think it's healthy just to re-examine some of what we're doing, because there are traditions we've had in place for decades, literally, and it might be time, now that we've grown to such a size, we've got about 1,340 kids in our high school this coming year, that we might want to just take a fresh perspective and think about whether everything we're doing we need to keep doing. Is there something that we could do better? Is there something we don't need to do anymore? So on and so forth.
10,000 is a lot to spend on that type of celebration. And rain or shine, we're spending 10 grand. If it's a lightning storm, though, it's held outside currently, correct?
Correct.
And in the gym is awful to hold it.
Yeah, well, what happened was we used to do the 8th grade one in the gym, typically up here, actually, in this gym.
Okay.
But we had a couple of evenings that were very, very warm, and we had some elderly people there.
For the
There
middle
were
school?
yes, because at one point the bleachers down at the middle school couldn't accommodate as many people as this gymnasium could, for whatever reason. But we had people who had become ill, were sick during the course of the ceremony. So when we moved to Menin, we took the middle school and brought it with us. But Menin is tough because we're the third fiddle after Morristown and the Morris County Vocational Technical School. So we can't always coordinate both events to be held on the same day or on back-to-back evenings.
Okay, so more to follow.
More to follow. But I thought I'd mention it since it was only a few weeks ago that we have both events.
Right.
Hot dogs and punch with a rain date.
There you go.
But if you're going to change this year's celebration, we're going to have to, make that known as early as possible.
Yes. And then the only other item I should mention, I didn't put it under my report, but there were some last-minute negotiations with the state's budget process, and Governor Murphy included in the budget that was sent to him. He didn't take any of it out. Additional extraordinary aid. We have received word from the DOE that we will find out our allocations hopefully by the end of July. So we don't know right now what the difference is between what we were told we would receive in February, or actually it was March, I think, this year, early March, that we got the final aid notifications. We don't know the difference between that amount and what we ultimately will get, but we expect it to be more than we were told we would receive.
Okay.
We just don't know how much more at this point.
And we're still not back to where we were when state aid was taken away, and 10 years of state aid.
That's true. That's direct aid. This is extraordinary aid, which is supposed to cover the cost for educating a student who requires extraordinary services. And we've only been receiving something on order of 50% of what the total is. Peter can get into that better than I can. But the stated goal of the Senate president is to bring that number to 100%, so that 100% of extraordinary aid costs are being covered by the state. We don't know if that will be realistic, but any additional aid is welcomed, of course.
Okay.
Mike, I have a question. Is extraordinary aid considered aid over a certain dollar amount?
Yes.
What's the dollar amount?
I want to say it's $40,000 for in-district students and $55 for out-of-district students.
55 for out of district, private, 40 for in-district and out-of-district public.
And the out-of-district cost that you use includes the transportation. So it is very easy to get above the 40,000 per student.
And for,
Or
and
55.
for residential programs too, as well, correct?
Yes.
Right. Got it. But some of those residential programs are 80,000, 90,000. And higher.
That's it for my report now.
Could I just ask
Yes.
how the great reunion went? Or are you gonna do?
It was great.
It was great.
I had communicated with Mike, and I'm going to butcher his last, Vespia? No, Verespiano, who was the, chairperson. He said it went off without a hitch. There was approximately 400 people, no problems. Everybody had a good time. I actually spoke to one person that attended and said it was fun and he had a good time. So,
I heard positive things down in the beach area. Excellent. Fireworks went off well. The building didn't get
Nope.
burned down.
No damage to turf?
No damage to the turf. That's a good thing. Any other questions for Dr. L'Souza from anybody on the board? No, everybody's good. Peter, Business Administrator report.
Sure, for the business administrator, just a reminder that by July 29th, all of the board member election packets have to be submitted directly to the county. Mr. Onick's packet has been submitted. Mr. Gilfillan's and Mr. Valenti's will be en route by probably tomorrow or Wednesday. So we have 2 open positions in the township, 2 candidates, 1 open position in the borough, 1 candidate as of now.
Okay.
Um,
So you have Sal's. You're waiting for Matt and Mike's.
Right, and
Just
they
to
will
send
be,
it in.
I actually have Mike's and waiting, and then
Okay.
they'll be sent to the county as well.
Excellent. No, you're good. Excellent.
Just a quick update, if anybody is in any of the schools, all the buildings are right now turned upside down. The custodians are in their typical routine process of emptying out all the rooms, thoroughly cleaning, waxing the floors, and then we'll reassemble. And all of this moving of pieces gets done, the buildings get all shined up, and we'll be ready approximately 3rd week of August, for the teachers to start coming back, who set up their rooms, and then obviously for August 27th when the staff is back, and then beginning of September for all the students. Washington Elementary is the biggest challenge because they have the extended school program, which ends the very beginning of August, and that building gets attacked by other custodians for the buildings that are almost done, and everything gets pristine before the teachers and students are back. So it's all of our normal stuff.
Okay. Now,
One quick question.
sure.
We walked into the gym and looked at the new bleachers. Can you assess the seating capacity before with the seating capacity now?
I was in there today as they were finishing up and spoke to Principal Grow. I believe the old capacity was less than 600. The new capacity will be slightly over 7. So we did pick up some seats, even though there's less rows. By altering the curtain, we gained extra section, of seats in the middle, because the curtain now will only go from foul line to foul line rather than wall to wall. So there will be seats, the bleachers run from basically door to door on each side. So we'll actually be picking up some seats.
All right, thanks.
And what about the auditorium at the middle school?
The auditorium at the middle school, I spoke to the architect today, who actually spoke to the contractor and met with the contractor today. When the architect submitted the revised drawings in the beginning of June, the contractor sent them to the seating guy, who sat on them and was waiting for a reconfirmation of 2 questions he had and did not order the parts. The architect met with the contractor again today, who dropped the ball because 2 different people were on vacation separate weeks, that they will be resubmitted, and so the seating guy can order the parts. It is anticipated now to have the seats done the beginning of September, because that's for the high school auditorium, because there's a 6-week.
I asked middle school, but high school was going to be next anyway.
Yeah, the high school.
So the parts weren't ordered on June 5th.
No, they weren't,
Okay.
because everything was submitted to the seating contractor, who didn't order them because he was waiting at 2 questions to John O'Hara, who is the
And you're still
contractor, which
withholding-
fell through.
You're still withholding
Yeah,
payment,
we still
correct?
owe him a chunk of change, more than the seat's worth. So
Okay.
it's like these people don't want to finish the job for their small amount of money. It's like ridiculous.
Maybe we have to start withholding more money so they finish the jobs. But
Yeah.
then the middle school.
On the middle school auditorium, the progress has been slow. There have been framing sections done, like on the balcony and the stage. According to, was there today, and there was basically, we did not see him, but supposedly the electrician was working, and the framers are supposed to start tomorrow and move forward. Our next construction meeting is Wednesday morning, so I will know whether or not, much progress was made tomorrow. On Wednesday, we will be doing the finalization of colors, seats, and things of that nature, so all of the, exterior, or all of the finishes can be ordered.
Right.
So,
Might-
and the substantial completion is the middle of December. So the contract is getting
And what if
held
they
to it.
missed the middle of December because they basically wasted the last several weeks? Our board concern has always been We want to do as much work as possible while there are no tender-age children in that building. I
Right.
don't want contractors in a building with 11, 12, 13-year-olds, wherever possible. They're not in the building in the summer when our kids aren't there. The fact that they gear up in September, you know, we knew they were going to be there September, October, November, but now it looks like they're going to be there September, October, November, December. What happens if they don't finish?
Then we have the option of going through damages because they did not finish on time. So the contractor, one of my big things for Wednesday morning is, hey, what is the schedule? We want to see a new schedule to make sure you finished on time. What are you going to do?
We'll start
And
floating the idea that damages are going to be
Yeah.
incurred if they miss the date, because I'd rather have them finish the job on time and not risk having contractors where possible in the building when there's students in the
Oh,
building.
agreed. And that is, one of the issues, especially to the fact that we can somewhat limit access points. It's not like I'm doing a new edition and there, it can't be accessed.
No,
Where this is right in the
building
heart
is
of.
open. I don't know if we need to hire
and there
a
are
person
classrooms
to stand
around
there.
it, so.
Yeah, I don't want a contractor floating out the back door and into a
Yeah,
classroom
I agreed. We will.
or engaging a student in any dialogue at all.
Agreed. I will beat them up Wednesday and have
And
a
part of
a
this,
report.
Peter, I'm hammering on you, but part of this is we have to take the lowest bid. The saying, you get what you pay for, here we are. We've not seen contractors down there, but we have to take, by law, the lowest bid. And the contractors, in our own homes, they'll start our job, then jump to another job, and then jump to another job. But again, we have 11, 12, and 13-year-olds that will be entering that building, 900 of them in September. And if Principal Jaworski tells me that, the kids are floating where they shouldn't and the contractors are beyond where they should be, then we're going to have to hire some type of security to ensure that there's coverage and that students will not be in any way interacting with contractors that we have no control over who they hire.
Agreed. We will.
Am I on island with this?
Now, I will reiterate, when we have the meeting on Wednesday.
Sal, Matt?
Yeah, I'm with you. I hadn't thought about it until you brought it up.
You have to have thought about it.
No, I haven't thought. Have we ever had an issue with contractors interacting with students? I mean, we should always be proactive, obviously.
Do you not read the
When it
papers?
when it comes to the security, not the Chatham papers, no.
No, I just meant,
But have we ever had an issue in Chatham with contractors interacting with students?
No, but we are very conscious of limiting when they're on site. Sometimes they do second shift only, and where it's an addition, they don't have access to our building. In this instance, they have complete access to the middle school by multiple doorways, front and back entrances. Am I the only one that thinks that people can be creepy and?
No, what about the security, what about the security person in the school?
Right, typically they're at the front
Yeah,
door
job
and we
too.
don't have a.
Well, maybe we shouldn't put them at the front door. Maybe they should be more proactive in regard to the contractors. Maybe that's the solution. Since we're paying for them, let's direct them to know what the contractor is doing.
Because
and,
they're late, put it on.
they can, that's what they do. I mean, that's what I would do if I was, if I was directing the day-to-day
Right, if you pull,
activities,
and then
I
if you
would
pull him away from one station, he's,
Well, that's.
We'll have to work that out.
Yeah, such is life in the, as you know, in the world of security and policing and, private security. We have resources, we should use them effectively. And, unless there's a bigger issue, they could be focused on the contractors. To your point, they may be pulled away, but, I think that it's not an overwhelming task. I mean, again, if there's feedback to the contrary, then we may have to get private security. You're right, it's an important issue.
We have done that. We've done all of that, and we haven't had any serious issue, knock wood, with a contractor in the building or any other visitor contractor that could get into a building.
That's my understanding.
Um,
If you like, I could come down and I could, interact with security and,
Holstered?
the teachers without, and I could take care of that if you like.
But the reason why we
It's
try
what I
to.
did for 23 years, so I'm happy to do it if you like, but I don't know if,
Thank you.
if you want that.
Thank you.
All right.
We have had issues though with contractors who smoke or who prop doors open because they're carrying stuff in and out, and the main reason we want as much work to happen in the summer as possible is that work is disruptive. It's loud. It gets noisy. Sometimes there's dust around. the more that we can accomplish in the summer, the less disruptive it is to the school environment. So it's frustrating when we're in a position where the contractor is not showing up as scheduled and making the kind of progress that we hoped for. And we deliberately scheduled last year the asbestos abatement over spring break and tried to.
Who is the contractor that's not showing up? I don't delve into, construction issues. You have your hands full, but who is the contractor?
It is Billy Contracting.
And
and-
when are you meeting with them?
Wednesday morning.
And who's gonna be at that meeting?
Myself, John Cataldo, and architect, along with Jill Gaharski, the middle school principal. Jill, the other comment was.
I just
Oh,
want to
sorry,
make one
Mike.
comment. If we think that this is going to affect our students and our schedule, then we should ask our council if there's a remedy, if they don't quickly, and what should we do if they're not reacting the way they should be within reason? And we should let them know that if they don't do what they agree to in their contract, our remedy is A, B, or C, and we will avail ourselves to that remedy immediately. That's what I would do. So they understand that we're gonna act, and that's it.
It will,
Again,
it will be
simple job.
addressed with them, and I'll go over the urgency of completing on time. But to note, as I'm thinking, when the high school auditorium was being done, the contractors were working during the day, controlled the entrance where they came in and out, and that was a little more challenging because the students at times walk right past the like through the glass vestibule, changing classes, and we were
Yeah,
able to
less
deal
than
with that.
ideal.
That, less than ideal. The middle school, at least, the students don't need to walk in front of the auditorium entrance, so it can actually even be gated, for the front, and just have to worry about the back. But we will figure out the best method and try to light a fire to get the guy moving.
I just mentioned that we are going to use whatever recourse we can legally come December 15th.
Okay. The other minor update I have for construction is the special service building demo. We're just waiting for the contractors to supply some dates, so hopefully that should be done by the end of July, long before anybody's back. The contractor for the CSS auditorium ADA parking is also slated that he will be completed adding the ADA parking by the end of July. And the roof work at Lafayette and CMS will begin towards the end of July and be completed by the middle of August. The scope of work at Lafayette is the area around the cafeteria, their cafeteria seating area. At the middle school, it is the roof above the main gym.
And the ADA parking, that's by the auditorium?
That's right on the auditoriums to the back end of the circle behind the Cougar statue.
Got it, okay.
So that anybody that needed the ADA parking would easily be able to just, unfortunately, walk across the macadam, right up the curbs and into the building.
And how many spaces do you
I
happen to remember?
believe it is 6.
6? And are you, Washington Avenue, are you just repainting lines on the entrance there, or are you changing the configuration?
We are actually, that's one
is
of
that not up
one of
for
my
discussion yet?
to-do list. We're waiting, basically, a few contingents from the Borough Police, along with Vince Donavi, the Borough Engineer, John Cataldo, myself, and Principal Dudlow had met a couple of months ago about trying to reconfigure the sidewalk by the curb for the bus. Vince Donavi was supposed to work up some plans, and they said at best they would be able to do that beginning of August. I have not seen anything, so that's John and I were at Washington today for to go over the preview of the donation, which hopefully the board will accept tonight. And she asked about the update, and we're like, I don't know, I need to contact, Mr. Donavi. So,
I think Mr. Donavi was on vacation for a bit.
yeah. So I'll shoot
Wasn't
him
Finn
an-
just out?
You know what, I actually don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
So
it
I'll
was
shoot
out.
him an email on that one to see
Okay.
what the status was.
Okay. No, I was just curious if
Yeah.
it was a repainting or a
No, they're supposed to do like changing the curb to have the bus access on as the exit driveway just on the right side, to help the flow of
Great.
traffic.
Okay,
And
fantastic.
that's all I have unless there's any other questions.
Nope. No, but you'll let the finance committee know.
Good update on construction, I have to hand.
Thank you.
Real, lot of moving parts.
Well, hopefully there's a lot, by the next meeting, it's a lot of this was done, this was done, this was done.
Yeah.
Not an easy task.
No, 6 buildings and 6 huge pieces of property and multiple,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's an awful lot. Does anybody have any questions for Peter? Or that was plenty? That was plenty. Okay, committee reports, personnel has not met, correct, Beth? Thank you. And curriculum? Oh, curriculum just met, sorry. Do you want to give the report?
Sure. Curriculum just met before this meeting. We discussed a couple of positions and a couple of reorganizational potential things that might happen. So once they get finalized, we'll announce the position responsibilities will be formally announced shortly. How's that?
Okay, excellent. Any questions for curriculum committee? No, finance and facilities, Mr. Gilfillan?
We as well just met. We discussed issues concerning the tennis courts, which are part of the colony pool and the township. They're discussing potentially, or their request to have us support them in their effort to redo the courts. We didn't come to any kind of conclusion as to what level or if any support we would like to do. The roof project Pete just touched on, they did reconfigure it. It was supposed to be $720,000, but there was issues in terms of the scope of work, which has now been reduced. They're now just doing above the gym. They're going to put the extra dollars back into cap, which they'll use for next year in order to do the balance of the roof. And then last but not least, we did discuss the capital project planning for 2020, 2021 towards the potential referendum that we have spoken to over the last 3 or 4 meetings, which include a number of different projects, the rebuilding of the track at Cougar Field, and security entrances at the schools, roof replacements at the high school and Washington Avenue, interior improvements across the district, and then also additional turf fields behind the high school. So we are and have given permission for the administration to take this to the next level, which will be, in essence, talking to all the required people to try to hone in terms of what actual costs we can assume, and then the time frames and legal issues and the dollar amounts, et cetera, that we can share with the public going forward.
Matt, some of these projects qualify for debt service, right?
So every one of them, except for the track at Cougar Field, was going to qualify for debt service. Therefore, you could see a headline figure of X, and then you need to reduce that by the debt service, which for most projects is 30%. So we believe, whereas the headline figure could be $6.5 million, the actual debt figure is closer to about 4.8 when all is said and done. But we need to go see and look at what the total impact is per family as to whether or not we believe it fits in to our always desire to keep our taxes low in town. But there is a lot of projects that are most beneficial doing it this way because of the capabilities of the debt service. That's, in essence, it's funding from the state to support our initiatives.
Excellent, thank you. Any additional questions for Matt? Nope. Mr. Arnock, has policy and planning met?
No, I believe we haven't. I think there was a meeting in the last month,
Okay.
but I was not present. So we may have had a meeting and someone else covered and discussed policy. I'm pretty sure that's already been done.
Okay,
And I have nothing to report.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any liaison reports from anybody? We're not going one by one anymore, we're just seeing if there's anything.
One thing I'll just mention, Chatham Athletic Boosters, in lieu of a report from my usual contact, we have an excellent guest tonight, so I'm not going to say anything because I imagine at some point we're going to hear some words from you.
From the performing arts boosters,
Yep.
not athletic boosters.
What did I say?
Well, athletic.
Been a long day.
It has been a long day. Performing arts boosters. Okay, very good. So you're going to wait for Jill to step up to the podium. Excellent. Very good. Well, we're almost there, Jill, so stand by. Can I make a motion to move the minutes that I was not in attendance at? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move the minutes for the public and executive session for June 17th.
Second.
I don't know. I was not in there.
You and Mr. Ryan have to abstain.
Okay, very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mike and I are
Duly noted,
Raise your
minutes
hand.
passed 4-0-2.
402. Okay, perfect. Very good. So we have our first opportunity for public commentary. If you wouldn't mind queuing up in an orderly fashion at the podium, and if you could introduce yourself. Yeah, that's that's you, Jill. Jill, do you live in the township or the borough?
The borough.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. I was quizzed when I came in. Jill Horowitz, 44 Meadowbrook Road, outgoing president of the Chatham Performing Arts Boosters. I'm just here to present a check for a portion of the 1819 wish list from the performing arts staff. It will cover a variety of items, including ukuleles for the K-3 music classes, a storage system for the new middle school auditorium, and choral folders for the high school, and new band folders for the middle school, which they're actually bound folders. They're not paper, not something you get at Staples. So we're replacing all of those. There is a potential for additional funding for some projects that the middle school is looking to support from an artist in residence standpoint for, actually it's more of a composer in residence for the band, and an artist in residence as we did this year. We helped support this year at the high school with Adam Pascal. I'm still counseling with the incoming board with regard to adjusting the budget a bit to start focusing more on projects that directly impact the arts as opposed to paying for busing and that sort of thing. They're very receptive to that. I think you'll see some good things from the incoming board. I'm also here just to say thank you. I've been doing this, I've been part of performing arts for 11 years. I've been part of Boosters for 7. It's been an honor to work with all of you. And the strides that the board has dedicated itself to in performing arts is greatly appreciated by the performing arts community. It is evident in the talents you see in our children and our students across the district. I've been fortunate enough to do some really great things and be a part of both highs and lows. And it's just nice to be a part of a district that cares. So I just wanted to say thank you. I will be moving on, and I will be a bona fide audience member, and I'm looking very much forward to it.
Thank you. Jill, who's going to be in charge of handing out seating assignments going forward?
So that is
Who do we need
going,
to butter
yes.
up?
My replacement will be Lexi Irene from the high school. She's a staff member of the high school.
You'll put in a good word for us?
I have everybody covered, don't you worry. 24.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any additional comments from the public? No, there's another opportunity at the end, so we're just going to quickly go through the agenda. And again, these are posted on Friday, so if it appears that we go through them quickly, it's because we've already had the weekend to look at it. So we're going to start with personnel, and I'm just going to move those items. On the regular agenda, A1 through 15, and there's a addendum for A3 and A16, an addition of A16 and a modification for A3.
Second.
For Ms. Grant? We'd love questions for Ms. Grant. Okay, very good. Moving on. Peter, would you mind?
Sure, agenda items A1 to 15, and the addendum of A3 and A16. Mr. Gilfillan? Yes. Mr. Arnick?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan? Yes. Mr. Valenti? Yes. And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Mr. Gilfillan, would you do finance and facilities?
Yes, I'd like to move action items B1 through 19 on your regular and B20 on your addendum. Donations, you already heard from the performing arts. Thank you very much. I don't think we did. Did we officially announce what our 2 plays are for next year? Did we do that?
I think they're a secret still, aren't they?
Are they still a secret?
James,
I don't know what they are either.
Last time I asked, I was told I couldn't be told yet, but maybe time has passed.
They haven't been announced yet?
I don't know.
Oh. I don't even know what they are.
It's not a secret?
We'll go that way.
It's a crucible in the fall, for the fall drama.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
That did not come from me. A donation from the PTO of the Southern Boulevard School. A big whopper, $47,500 for a smorgasbord of things. Most importantly, the renovation of the interior school courtyards. And last but not least, guys, on the addendum, just one more at Washington Avenue School. They must be competing against each other. $38,000, $300 for installation of paver walkways and a paver patio, so they can use that as instructional space, so more outdoor time for the kids.
Oh, that'll be nice. Peter, I have a question on B7. Is it? Do you put educational space and toilet room compliance? Like, is it? Seems odd that you put those together.
That are actually two separate things. The toilet room compliance comes into fact if you have a preschool or kindergarten room that does not have a bathroom. So that's why none of the toilet compliance is not affected, because none of these are for kindergarten students.
Got it. Okay.
So if we housed a kindergarten in a room without a bathroom in the room, that's called non-compliant.
Okay.
So you have to make a plan so that a staff member accompanies a child to the restroom and then monitors and then make sure the child comes back.
Okay, but that doesn't apply.
No.
Okay. Any additional questions for Matt or Peter or anybody on the finance committee? No. Seeing none.
I want to make
Sure.
one just general
Absolutely.
comment. And this is along the lines of something Rich Connors would say, a prior board member. But we have such incredible support from our PTOs, Chatham Athletic Boosters, Performing Arts Boosters, the Chatham Athletic Foundation. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And parents are willing to do that and step up in this town because they're confident in the way the administration is running it. If they weren't confident, they wouldn't feel comfortable putting those funds forward. So I think it's a testament to the extreme generosity of this incredible, the incredible parents in this town, as well as the cooperation with the parents and the communication. And I think that should just be highlighted. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sal. Well said. That's why you need to run again. There was a second, right, Peter?
Yes, there was.
Very good.
Agenda items B1 through 19 and 20 on the addendum. Mr. Gilfillan?
Yes.
Mr. Arnick?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti? And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Excellent. C1 through C12. Oh, Lada, would you mind moving curriculum? Sorry.
I'd like to move action item C1 to C.
12.
C12 for vote.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions on curriculum for Ms. Chase, who's eagerly awaiting a question? No. No. Oh, you okay, Matt?
The tuition rates. Tuition students. So in our general figures, what is that? Are these the kids that are in? Who are these?
Specific.
Staff member.
The staff member ones. These are staff, okay.
It's been here for over.
Yeah, okay.
Or
That's what I thought.
much longer than that.
It just doesn't, it didn't read that way.
Any other questions? Matt, you good?
Yep.
Very good. Peter?
Sure. Agenda items C1 through C12. Mr. Gilfillan?
Yes.
Mr. Arnick?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan? Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Okay, policy is up next. Sal, do you have an audible or?
Nothing to move, no audible.
No audible. Okay, very good. Board business. Does anybody have any items they want to bring up for board business? Mike, I feel remiss if I wouldn't mention the word redistricting. Just, again, keeping an eye on the development in the town. you've always said that it wouldn't happen but this year, and it wouldn't happen any sooner than next September, correct? We're still at that point. Would you be bringing the demographer back in if we had to redistrict?
Yes, we last had a conversation on facilities and finance, I think, probably in May now. I'm thinking it might have been, where he's given us some additional maps through his software with pinpoints for students and where they live on the various streets, as well as a general radius in terms of where kids could be drawn from, where they're bused from, not bused from, etc. It's very complicated, and we haven't picked it up since we spoke last in facilities finance. We probably would need him to come back to kind of walk us through some of this, I think.
Okay.
But we haven't done that in the last 2 months or so.
But there's nothing that accelerated that time frame. You're still, the very earliest would be year 2020,
Yes.
2021. And it may even be delayed if the development is delayed and nothing else really changes
Sure.
in the district. Okay.
Somebody in the committee meeting said they noticed a high turnover rate in the borough. We're not seeing any uptick in student enrollment at all, even with the turnover?
We have not. I mean, our enrollment K3 has been dropping. So first grade right now, I mean, you have the sheets in front of you, but we're in the neighborhood of 260 kids or something like that. We're under 300 in grades 1 and 2, I believe. Whereas if you look at some of our upper grades, 5th, 7th, 10th, maybe we're in the 350, 360 range. So that's a pretty big difference. And our hope would kind of be that we sort of plateau out at roughly 300 kids per grade level and don't have any of the big spikes. The high school will keep on growing slightly, and its enrollment will be large for the next 5 years roughly, or 6 years, whereas the other schools gradually should start to see their enrollments decline a little bit over time.
Okay.
So all of the K3s have experienced enrollment loss. Lafayette will after next year. The current 5th grade is large, and then 1 or 2 years beyond that, the middle school will finally start to see a little bit more of a loss. There are 1,000 kids in the middle school right now, and 1,300 and change at the high school.
When are the kindergarten people required to enroll by?
They can enroll at any time.
Are these numbers
At any
behind
point in the
even
year.
last year?
Are the kindergarten numbers? Well, the kindergarten numbers now we have to take with a grain of salt because we've got full day sections at 2 of the buildings. So those kids theoretically could have been twice as many if they all were halftime
And
kids.
that full day kindergarten, what was the final figures on that in terms of requests versus?
Fully subscribed.
And what was our?
And we probably have, I guess, at least 30 kids that never got off the wait list.
That did not get off the list?
Right, that did not gain entry into the program.
Well, ideally, another next year, if the enrollment continues to decrease,
Yeah, that
we can
would be
open
the
up,
hope, right.
We would open up another section of
Yes.
full-day kindergarten. Okay. Any additional questions or items for board business? No. Seeing none, we have our second opportunity for public commentary, and then we do have an executive session, and action will be taken on one item. Any additional public commentary? No? No, you're good, Mr. Heap. Okay, seeing none, then I make a motion to close the current public section, going into executive session